Hi, it's the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Today, some thoughts on exploring this question of the Catholic economy. We have a recent series on the Catholic economy, and you know that I have been trying to explain why we need to have a Catholic economy and how it can be done, and really what's the purpose of it. So I wanted to mention that over the past month or so, we're getting a lot of interesting feedback. We're getting feedback, I would say 99% of it is positive. Honestly, if you look at all of our emails and the social media comments and the feedback I've been receiving from some podcasts I've been on. For example, I've been on The Catholic Gentleman, The Catholic Canuck, and also LifeSite News television. Each of these podcasts, about an hour-long interview in each case, has resulted in positive commentary from people who've said, right on the money. This idea of a concept of a Catholic economy, it's right on the money. You're putting it out there. This is great. The team and I have had some calls recently, probably 10, maybe even a dozen, just in the last couple of weeks, with people from all over the United States and Canada who are commenting about the idea of a Catholic economy. And they're all responding positively. And they're all responding really from their focus, their perspective. So for example, we talked to a fellow who is an investor, a VC, a venture capital investor. I've talked to 4 different wealth advisors from 4 corners of North America, literally all over the US and Canada. I've talked to small business owners. I've talked to a couple of corporate people, senior level corporate executives, who all are commenting on how the culture is pushing us as Catholics, how the corporate life is pushing us into a box. And so the idea of the Catholic economy is resonating. There is one, I say it's 1%, because it's really only a small articulation that has come about in a very minor way. And that is that what you're trying to do with this Catholic economy talk is create a parallel economy. And what's the point of that? Well, I'm going to address that today. And I'm not setting up a straw man argument. I'm just saying that it's really a small, tiny little commentary that 1 or 2 people have said to me about, why would we create a parallel economy when we should be trying to change the economy, something like that. And so I wanted to mention today that that's really the only objection I've been hearing in the last few weeks. Now, maybe there'll be more coming, but I guess another objective I could say is it's hard. It's difficult. It's going to be challenging. Sure, of course. But as our Lord said, we need to not count the cost. So today, the question of, is the Catholic economy a good thing or a bad thing? Is it a capitulation to the world? Is it an isolationist kind of catacombs thing that you want to create this Catholic economy to separate ourselves from the world? And I'm not saying that that's what we're doing. I'm proposing that we are going to be in the world, but not of it. I'm not proposing something like, this artificial notion of the separation of church and state. It's become so ingrained in our minds that many Catholics, faithful Catholics, have confused the notion of separation of church and state. We won't go into that today, but I think you know what I'm talking about. And so, is it something for which we should strive, this Catholic economy? And of course, that we at the Catholic CEO believe that is what we should be doing. Yes, we should be pushing for development of a Catholic economy, not to create a parallel economy, but to influence the culture and to make positive change. So today, my thoughts are going to be divided into 2 sections. One is I'm going to do a very quick recap of what we mean by the Catholic economy. And secondly, I want to explore a few concepts to show that we believe that it can be done and that we should do it in terms of addressing specific issues, starting at the family level, moving to the parish level, moving to the diocesan and citywide level, and so on and so on. So first of all, a quick recap of what we mean by the Catholic economy. I'll start with the family level. You've seen other videos that we've done. At the family level, we believe that we should be talking entrepreneurially with our children. At the dinner table, figuratively speaking, we should be talking about what it's like to be an entrepreneur. What are the advantages of starting your own business and espousing Catholic principles in our own businesses? We should be doing business in our family. So we should encourage our children, for example, at an early age to set up a business, to create a small business. You've heard me speak about some specific examples. But wouldn't it be interesting if our children learned how to be independent of the culture and not just learning as the culture teaches us to get a job, but to actually become entrepreneurial and start our own business? And there's no reason that we can't teach our children at a very early age to think entrepreneurially and actually start a business. Still at the family level, we would then move to considering starting a family business, multi-generational, home-based at first, maybe always home-based, but a family-based business. And then we would move to a higher level, which would be businesses owned by Catholics that would actually be Catholic. They would behave in accordance with Catholic principles. They wouldn't buy into this, we can do business and we have to do it according to the world's standards, but we can still be Catholic. There's a mixed message there. And so we think that we could move then from the idea of a family-owned business to a Catholic-owned business running according to Catholic principles. Then, of course, we would grow to the parish level, where we would have buying groups. Catholics would band together to buy together in a unified way in the economy. Selling groups, we would pool our marketing dollars, our sales dollars, and we would sell together as groups, just like many other groups in society do, legitimately. We would employ each other. We would go out of our way to hire people within our parish, with due regard for all of the qualifications that we need and all of the, positive attitudes and the good work habits and all of the above. Yes, of course, but we would focus on hiring within our parish first, for example, which we don't do today. We would advise each other. I can imagine inside of a parish, couldn't you, where wise people who have had some successes in business, who've been through tough times, who've met challenges, could advise young entrepreneurs, people who want to do a startup, those who want to consider a home-based business. Not only advise each other, we could then lend money to each other. We could invest in each other. We could give grants to each other. Who's to say that Catholics who have surplus dollars, I don't mean necessarily wealth, but surplus dollars, who wouldn't consider providing a grant to somebody who wants to start a business? Certainly lending money to each other under excellent terms and conditions, Catholic terms and conditions, let us say, and, investing like an angel finance investor in each other's companies. And you can imagine how that could grow, the investment thing, how that could grow from the parish level to the diocesan level to the citywide level to the much broader country and regional world region level in due course. So that's my summary. That's a recap of what the Catholic economy could look like. Is that a parallel economy? Is it a catacomb style approach? Is it a separation of church and state, so to speak? I'm using those terms not in their literal meaning, but in the sort of business connotation. I think that it's positive to do this all. And I think that this recap shows that there is a way to do this. And I've explored that, and I will continue to explore that in future videos. Let's now move to just exploring the thoughts of how and why and what are the advantages of a Catholic economy. And I'll begin by saying that I'm not a theologian. I'm not a canon lawyer. I'm an economist by training. And so my perspective is going to be always, I guess, governed by my academic training. Have always been fascinated by the money and banking system, by the financial systems. I am an investor. I have run an angel investor group for 12 years with 150 investors and hundreds of deals per year screened for 12 years. I've seen it all in business. I've been a consultant. I've been somebody who is a contract executive. I've been on all kinds of boards, and I understand the business mind and I understand business. That's the lens from which I see things. But I'm also a faithful Catholic, fairly well informed. I feel that I'm informed. I've learned my faith, and I have tested my faith in many different fields, and I have this business background. So I'm bringing you these ideas as an ordinary, well-informed person. I'm not going to cite to you premises from academia or church law or even church teaching, except to say that I'm a faithful Catholic trying to live according to Catholic teachings, consistent teachings that have been handed down over the centuries. And so my first point is, what's wrong? Even if one argues that there's a parallel economy that we're trying to create, what's wrong with that? If our Lord instructed us to be in the world but not of it, why can't we then engage with the world in business, using our talents, using all the mechanisms that society has built over the years, in a positive, properly ordered, virtuous Catholic way? What's wrong with that? Let's take a look at some examples. The Catholic Church, as you know, invented the university system. The university education system is an actual invention of the Catholic Church. If you're not aware of that, check it out. It's very interesting. The hospital system. The Catholic Church invented the hospital system, where we care for people in a facility that's centralized and that has expertise. The Catholic Church invented the parochial school system, where you provide religious education and secular education, let us say, all the other topics, from the lens of a Catholic perspective. We've done this. In fact, we've developed in some, I know of 2 Canadian provinces, Saskatchewan and Alberta, where the public sector actually funds the Catholic school system. In much of the United States, as you know, the parochial school system has to be paid for separately by parents. And that calls for heroic sacrifice. It does, because it's expensive and, you know, it's challenging in many other ways as well. But imagine in a couple of jurisdictions, the government actually pays for Catholic education in the school system through the taxation, the property taxation model. And so the point is, it's possible to influence the culture. So let's take a look at some things in the parallel economy that we could actually do. We talked about capital a minute ago. So we could lend money to each other or invest in each other's businesses or give grants to each other. What's wrong with creating in our parishes, with, first of all, discussion of this at the family level, but at the parish level? What would be wrong with doing that? Capital, are Catholics less wealthy than the rest of the economy? Actually, I don't know the answer to that, but I would imagine, given a large enough sample size with a large enough geographic territory, that we would find that there are many prosperous and successful Catholics who, just like parents who want to pay for their children's parochial Catholic school education, where they can get real Catholic education. I'm talking about the good schools, classical schools and others, and good parochial schools. If we can do that and make that sacrifice for our own children, could we not consider making the sacrifice similarly on the capital side? And even if you're an ordinary middle-class family, let's say, Catholic family, trying to make a go of it, what if you contributed a small, tiny part of your income and your assets in the form of lending or investing or granting to Catholic-owned startup businesses or early-stage companies? And if we pooled enough of that, across the entire United States, across all of Canada, for example. Wouldn't that be interesting? Couldn't there be a large enough pool of capital to create some movement? Now, you might be thinking, okay, well, how are we going to solve all the Catholic businesses? Well, at first we won't. We're going to pick up this starfish and that one and throw them into the sea. You know that story. We're not going to be able to save every starfish on the beach at first, but later on we will. Let's talk about the banking system. Will we create a parallel banking structure? Don't know. Maybe. Maybe Catholics will band together and form an actual bank and conduct lending practices in the normal way all across the United States and all across Canada. Who's to say that we can't do that? That could happen, quite possibly. What if we influence the marketing culture? We're all very aware of how exploitive the marketing system is. We exploit people, we exploit images, we cause people to be manipulated in our marketing. We cause people to be addicted. We cause people to lose custody of their eyes. We cause people literally to sin when we use the conventional marketing techniques out there. Just like, I guess it's in the 1940s, the Hollywood production code, where American Catholics influenced the culture so much by the Hollywood production code that movies that were immoral or that had unethical or immoral imagery were actually stopped. They were prevented. Now that all folded and fell away. It's a tragic story, but it's an interesting idea and it worked. And so why couldn't we do the same thing with marketing? Why couldn't we have a Catholic marketing code that would actually be advertised, and Catholic businesses would use all sorts of professional techniques? Yes, of course. But we would have a code that prevented exploitation and the use of immoral images or of techniques that are designed to have you become addicted or have you become so influenced that you cease thinking about all that is right and good and true and just. In the sales area, I'm not suggesting that we should only sell to Catholics, no, but if we sold in groups and marketed our efforts as Catholic businesses, holding to a certain standard of, let's say, better production than average, better quality services than average, and so on, couldn't we then create some value? And of course, if we sell to other customers who are not Catholics, and I'm not talking, by the way, of selling Catholic products only. We could be selling products as a Catholic business that behaves Catholic, but uses sales techniques and sells to people with a certain message. The message would be a positive one that says, we're a Catholic-owned business. We have the seal of approval of, I don't know who, I'm not talking about the church, but I'm talking about some kind of a bond, a code between and among Catholic business owners that we would sell. And in order to be able to sell in this pool, this group, we would have to achieve certain standards and hold to certain standards. Similar thing with business principles in general. If we are Catholic owners of businesses, but the businesses only behave according to certain secular standards, well, I suppose we could look at that and say, what's the point of that? But if we had Catholic standards of running Catholic businesses, where we're not afraid to follow ethical and moral principles that are in accord with the magisterium of the church, sacred scripture, good practices that go beyond what the law requires as a minimum in terms of how we deal with people, for example. And speaking of treating people, shouldn't we as Catholic business owners running Catholic businesses do better than the law requires? Shouldn't we be doing more than the minimum that the law requires in how we treat people? We've talked extensively about this over the past few weeks and months, but let's just remember that that's something that we could be more exemplary. People could look at us, just like the early Christians in the Roman times. See those Christians? They're a little different than us. Notice how they do things differently? I know you're familiar with that story, and so we would do the same thing. Let's take a look at the question of hiring. Would we hire only Catholics? Well, not necessarily, although that would be a good place to start, I think, because if we hired Catholics, we would then be supporting fellow Catholics who need income and who need jobs. And what's wrong with doing that? Every other group in society has always done this. Catholics may have done it in the past, in the guild eras and in other eras of history. And certainly even now, so many groups in society, whether geographically oriented, interest oriented, people who have a certain interest in a certain kind of product, they band together. Certain ethnic groups, certain regional groups, certain religious groups, everybody bands together. There's no reason that we couldn't do the same thing and hire Catholics primarily, with due regard for all of the other skills and talents and attitudes that we want from employees. Buying groups and selling groups, we've talked about it at quite a length here, but we could really make significant progress if we got together, even at the parish or even in the local, regional, family kind of neighborhood level, and made our purchases together. What if you went to the paint store and you're all painting your house, let's say, and you made a deal, and the vendor would want to know who you are? Well, we're a group of neighbors. Well, why did you get together? Well, because we go to the same parish. Oh, what church is that? Oh, it's the Catholic Church. Yeah, we're a Catholic group, and we're coming to you as a group of people that we want. We need all this kind of paint, and we want you to, give us a special deal on this. And of course, word gets around when all the paint stores in town find out that everybody's being approached by these Catholics who want to buy paint and who want to do, beautify their properties and so on. So you can see where I'm going with this thought. The advice business. I feel that we don't do enough of this in our parishes. We don't advise each other well enough. People start a business, they struggle. They may get advice from their professional service providers, like their lawyers, their accountants, their attorneys, their bankers, their tax people, etc. Fine, good. But what's wrong with having the wisdom, accumulated body of wisdom in your parish, sitting down once a month and listening to somebody who's starting a business and advising them? It costs nothing except time. It's a use of your talents and abilities to help fellow man, and it helps to push towards the Catholic economy. We would stop exploitive behaviors. We would create positive behaviors. We would teach people how to be smart in business using all of the secular tools that are out there, but we would put the Catholic spin, shall I say, in a positive way. We'd put the Catholic spin, the Catholic flavor to it. And so today, I just wanted to explore in a few minutes the idea of the Catholic economy in general. Why would we do it? Is it a parallel economy? Is it a catacomb group thing that is isolationist? Well, maybe it is. But even if it is, I don't think that negates the idea. I don't think it negates the idea. Now, it has to be more than that. It has to grow big enough to influence the culture, to change laws, to change attitudes, to push back against the culture. Yes, it does. But if we did so, we could influence the economic system directly. People do this. We could become an economic powerhouse and change the economic system. We could resist and change the popular culture. And we could put into practice our faith. We could evangelize the world by being Catholic in our lives, trying to achieve heaven and all of the above. But we would operate businesses and conduct practices that are fully in accord with Catholic teaching, not in accord with what the secular world says. That's the ultimately tricky part. In future videos, I want to talk about how we run our businesses successfully according to the world standards, but apply on top of that the ethical and moral principles of the Catholic Church. And much of it will revolve around us being able to analyze in very great detail the costs of our financial transactions. You're going to hear me talk about these spreadsheets where we're going to be able to do forecasting and simulations to the greatest level of detail. And we're all going to need to become expert at this, because that's how we're going to figure out whether we can add a cost to our structure, such as an additional benefit or some additional days off to reflect feast days and family events, things like that. That's where we're going to be able to use secular business principles that are ethical, discard all those that are unethical, still make money, still build wealth, still create opportunities for employment, for capital, for buying, for selling, for advising, for investing, all these things, but using our faith 100%. We can do this. Now, if that's a parallel economy, I'm all for it. If it's a secular economy that forces us to accept only the secular business principles, well, no, that's not going to work. We need to be Catholic, fully Catholic, run Catholic businesses of which we are proud and which are visibly Catholic and visibly different from the rest of the world. It can be done. We've always said at the Catholic CEO that you can be Catholic and successful in business. And we always say, believe it. And so those are some thoughts for today. I ask you to join us in this cause, and let's talk further. At the Catholic CEO, we're planning another forum that we're going to put on in the next month or so, in which we're going to explore in great detail these thoughts that people from all over the United States and Canada are putting together about how to create a Catholic economy, what to do to make it work, and how we can start at the family level, at the parish level, at the diocesan level, the citywide level, and eventually the regional, state, or provincial level, and much beyond that. And we will be able to then modify the culture and have some independence from it while being in the world, but not of it, and evangelizing and spreading the gospel around the world. So those are some thoughts. It's the Catholic CEO, Henry Katarna. Thanks for joining me today, and I look forward to speaking to you soon again.